Hey everybody, today we're going to be using dough fruit and breaking it down. First, I'm going to start by showcasing the unawakened moves, because honestly, you don't see them being used very often. Fried dough, the Z move, has good AoE, good damage, and is a solid starter move. Sticky dough, the X move, has a bit of an auto aim, so you can aim it close to someone and it'll usually still hit them. Carved dough, the C move, is a quick slam with decent damage and a small stun. Restless Dough Barrage, the V move, is probably the strongest unawakened move, with the highest stun and the highest damage. Roller Donut, the F move, is mainly used for mobility, letting you move around quickly compared to running or dashing. This is where dough really becomes crazy. Once it's awakened, it has huge combo potential, really long stuns, and was one of the main fruits people use for PvP, because it is so easy to chain the moves together. The X move, Pastry River, pushes enemies forward in a spike if used on the ground. If you use this move while in the air, it grabs and teleports your target a few times before slamming them down. It can help to catch people who are staying in the sky because it has a decent range. It's great for extending combos because it has a grab and stun that breaks dodge. The C move, Piercing Clothesline, does a spin similar to the F move before grabbing enemies, dragging them through the attack, then slamming them down onto the ground, where a huge explosion hits the targets, and others around who were not grabbed in the initial attack. This move is good if you are fighting multiple players and need a large AoE. The V move, Dough Fist Villazwade, is probably the strongest move in the set. It traps people in a barrage of punches and does huge damage, especially if they're already stuck in a combo. It can grab multiple targets and be aimed in a general area around where it is first used. You can use this attack over the water to hold people down when fighting over the sea. This is great to kill users who are not Shark Race. The Z move, the Missile Jab, has a really long range and a big explosion, so it's a good combo starter if you land it right. The F move, Scorched Donut, is the mobility move. It lets you move around really fast and chase people down. It is important since dough combos work best when you stay close to your target. And that's basically why Awakened Dough is so strong. If someone gets caught in a combo, it can be really hard for them to get out. Now, let's go see what a dough raid looks like to awaken this fruit, because the islands are actually pretty cool. So, as you can see, this is the dough raid. It's considered one of the harder raids in the game, because some of the NPCs that spawn use dough fruit abilities, including the grab moves, which can combo you pretty hard. And even then, unlocking the raid is kind of a whole process on its own. First, you need to be high enough level to be in 3rd C. Then, you need to collect a God's Chalice from a chest, and 10 Conjured Cocos. The Conjured Cocos are dropped by the Cocoa Warriors and the Chocolate Bar Battlers in the 3rd C. You trade those for a Sweet Chalice. Then, you defeat 500 enemies at the Cake Land to summon the Dough King, one of the hardest bosses in the game. If you do enough damage when working with other people or kill the boss yourself, he drops a red key, which unlocks the room where you can finally buy the Dough Raid microchips to awaken the fruit. So yeah, it's not that easy. Fully awakening dough also costs 18,500 fragments. Alright, now we finally get to showcase the awakened moves. Alright, let's go see what this fruit can do in PvP. We are going to check all 3 Cs so that we can fight players across a range of levels and environments. I started in first C, where I found a max level Buddha to fight. The fights were pretty one-sided, so after 3 kills I decided to disengage, since I wasn't getting any bounty, and he wasn't really a challenge to help me get better. When I tried to leave, he started trash-talking, called in backup, and they tried to 2v1 me. However, him sacrificing his lower level friend worked out pretty well for me, because I was finally able to start getting bounty. Next, I went to second C to fight the group of fishermen that you saw at the start of the video. These players were high to mid-range, having items that you can only get in third C. One of these things I noticed during these fights is that Dough combos are really strong, but if you mix your abilities, you can get punished pretty hard. A lot of the moves have big knockback, which can sometimes push the enemies out of your combo if you mistime things. Finally, I went to 3rd C, and I fought this guy. He didn't put up much of a fight, but he did give bounty. And that's Dough Fruit for you. Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next video where we'll be checking out the last update's Fiend Yeti.